Dear students, viewers, and the subscribers, welcome to the IAS Mentor. You are watching lecture number 83 in the series Indian Polity. As I already stated, the objective of this series is to provide a comprehensive idea on the topic or on the subject Indian Polity, which will be very useful for the students preparing for UPSC IAS examination as well as for the other competitive examination. So what we have discussed in the previous lecture, we are discussing about the topic of the budget, that is the annual financial statement. But however, the topic of budget or the annual financial statement will not be complete without looking and studying few topics that we are going to discuss today. In the previous lecture, that is in the lecture number 82, we discussed about the enactment of the budget, that is the annual financial statement. We understood what are the various steps in the enactment of the budget. We have seen when the budget is introduced in the Houses of the Parliament, then it goes for the general discussion stage. Then it is referred to the DRSCs, Department Related Standing Committees. Then from there on, it is taken up to the next stage, that is vote on demand for grants. And in this particular stage, various cut motions can be introduced in the Lok Sabha. But however, what will be put to vote is only the made expenditure and not the charge expenditures. And then subsequently, we understood that the next stage is the passing of the appropriation bill, and then passing of what is called as a finance bill, and with all these things the budget get enacted. So normally all these things has to be completed before 31st of March. So therefore in the next financial year the money is made available. But in case if the budget is not enacted or if the appropriation bill is not passed before 31st of March of a ending financial year, then through the process of vote on account, the Parliament can authorize the government to withdraw money in advance, provided at least the general discussion stage in the budgetary process is over. But how much of money is allowed to be taken in advance is 1/6 of the expenditure or 2 months of maximum expenditure in the budget. So this is what we have understood in the previous class. But however, our discussion of the budget will not be complete without understanding certain key concepts like supplementary grant, additional grant, excess grant, exceptional grant, what is vote of credit, and also the different types of funds that is given in the constitution. Say for example, the Consolidated Fund of India, what is Contingency Fund of India, and what is the Public Accounts of India. So these are all the small topics, but at any time these questions can be asked in the examination. Say for example, UPSC has many times asked the concept of vote on account, and it has also asked the concept of vote of credit. They have asked questions on the Public Accounts of India, Contingency Fund of India. So let us try to understand all those things very clearly in today's lecture. Alright, so with that introduction, we'll try to get into the lecture. So first we are going to understand as to what is called as a supplementary grant, additional grant, or what is called as the excess grant. So what does it mean by supplementary grant? What does it mean by additional grant? Or what does it mean by excess grant? Now basically what is budget? Budget consists of the estimated statement of estimated receipts and estimated expenditure. The expenditures are in the form of what is called as the grants. So what normally happens in the annual financial statement or the budget is whatever the grants that is required by various ministries and departments, they are all sum up and then it is put to vote, and then after the passing of the appropriation bill, the money is made available to the various departments and ministries. So then what is called as a supplementary grant? A supplementary grant is something, say for example in the budgetary process, when the budget is introduced, every ministry and every department ask what is the necessary expenditure for the given financial year. For example, let us take the defense ministry. I am just taking an example of defense ministry, but it can be anything. Suppose let us assume the defense ministry has asked for 50,000 crores as an expenditure, and this demand is there in the budget and this demand is passed. And that means for the entire financial year, so let us assume for the financial year 25-26, the defense ministry is asking 50,000 crores. That means for the entire financial year, the defense ministry would require 50,000 crores, and it may be used for any purpose as it is approved in the budget by the defense ministry. But let us assume what happens within the defense ministry is after it is approved by the Parliament. Let us assume the budgetary process is approved, the budget has been approved. But unfortunately for the defense ministry, there are certain cost escalations. So therefore, let us assume by January 2026, because whatever the budget that they pass, it is for the financial year. That is from 1st of April 2025 till it is going to be 31st of March 2026. This is going to be the financial year for which the budget will be passed right now, and for which let us assume the Defence Ministry has asked 50,000 crores. Now, for some reason, the Defence Ministry needs more money. Suppose let us assume instead of 50,000 crores, the Defence Ministry may require, let us assume 60,000 crores, and that they come to know only during the course of the financial year. Let us assume by January or 1st January 2026, the Defence Ministry is almost to complete 50,000 crores. So, therefore, for the next 3 months, that is before 31st March 2026, they may need another 10,000 crores, let us assume. So, they need another 10,000 crores to meet their expenditure. But in the budgetary process, what is approved is only 50,000 crores. But they need another 10,000 crores. Does it mean that the money will not be given to the Defence Ministry? The money will be again made to the Defence Ministry, but how it will be made again? By introduction of what is called as supplementary grant. So, this is basically what is called as supplementary grant. Now, what is a supplementary grant? Whenever any ministry or department needs money in addition to what has been approved in the budget. For some purpose, the money is already approved in the budget. But the money that is approved in the budget is found to be insufficient during the course of the financial year. So, therefore, the concerned ministry or department is asking for an additional fund for the purpose which is already approved in the budget. And this type of grant is what is called a supplementary grant. As the name suggests, supplementary means in additional to the original grant that is given in the budget. So, this is basically what is called as a supplementary grant. And for which a supplementary grant has to be introduced in the parliament, and it has to be introduced in the Lok Sabha, and in the Lok Sabha it has to be put to vote, and during the vote there can be many motions that can be introduced. The cut motions can be introduced, but however none of these motions are passed, and then the grant is approved. After the supplementary grant is approved by the Lok Sabha, then an appropriation bill is passed to take out this particular 10,000 crores, and then finally the money is made available to the Defence Ministry. So, this is basically what is called as a supplementary grant. So, please keep it in your mind. So, what is a supplementary grant? So, basically supplementary grant is something that this is not a new service for which the money is asked by the Defence Ministry. It is already an existing service for which the money is approved by the parliament during the budgetary process, but the money that was approved for a specific service was found to be insufficient. So, therefore, in addition to what has been approved already, they are asking on top of that some more money. So, this is basically what is called as supplementary grant. And apart from supplementary grant, there can also be something which is called as an additional grant. So, what is this additional grant? Additional expenditure on a new service that is not contemplated in the budget for a given year. That is basically what is called as an additional grant. Say for example, I will take the same Defence Ministry, but let me take another example. Let us assume the Defence Ministry is again asking for what is called as 50,000 crores is the expenditure of the Defence Ministry. But the Defence Ministry, when they are asking it in the budget, in the original budget, when it is passed in the parliament, they are telling that how they are going to spend this 50,000 crores. They are going to spend 20,000 crores on salaries, and they are going to spend another 20,000 crores on acquisition of arms and ammunitions. Let us say it is acquisition of arms. So, this is how they are going to spend it, and let us assume that another 10,000 crores, and these 10,000 crores are for what is called as border road developments. They wanted to develop the road infrastructure along the border. So, this is the way that they are going to spend this particular money, and for this the approval is also given by the parliament in the original budget. So, then they also got the 50,000 crores. But however, during the course of the financial year, now the Defence Ministry is saying that they are starting up a new R&D project, research and development project, and that research and development project is very crucial for the national security. And for that particular project, the Defence Ministry is asking for 5,000 crores, or the Defence Ministry requires 5,000 crores, which is not approved in the budget, because see, the way the budget has been allocated for the Defence Ministry is 50,000 crores, but it is allocated under different heads. What are the sub-services within the 50,000 crores? It is for salaries and allowances, it is for arms and acquisitions, it is for border road development. But however, now the Defence Ministry is saying we need another 5,000 crores more, but not for any of these services which is already approved in the budget. They need another 5,000 crores for what is called as the research and development. So, will it not be made available to the Defence Ministry? It can also be made available to the Defence Ministry. The Defence Minister will send a note to the Finance Minister, and then the Finance Minister, to give this 5,000 crores, the Finance Minister has to introduce what is called as additional grant in the Parliament. Additional grant means that a requisition is made to take money from the Consolidated Fund of India for a service which was not part of the original budget. So if it is part of the original budget, but if they are looking for some more money on the same service, then it is called a supplementary grant. But if a money is sought for a new service, then it is called as additional grant. So an additional grant is put forward in the Lok Sabha, then it is put to vote, and after it is passed, an appropriation bill is passed which would allow the defense ministry to take out money. Rather, the finance minister will take out the money, or the ministry will take out the money and give it to the defense ministry. So this is basically what is called as additional grant. So apart from the supplementary grant and additional grant, there is also something which is called as excess grant. So all these things are very, very important. What is this excess grant? Now excess grant is if the government spends money in excess of what is being approved. That is basically what is called as an excess grant. So I am just repeating it again. If the government spends money in excess of what is being approved in the budget, then that is basically what is called as excess grant. So you can ask me a question, how is that possible? That 50,000 crores is allocated to the defense ministry. Is it possible for the defense ministry to end up more than 50,000 crores? Of course, the defense minister will not give it from his pocket. The defense secretary or the employees in the government will not give it from their salaries to spend more than 50,000 crores. If 50,000 crores are allocated, they can end up only spending 50,000 crores, not more than that. But how it may result in excess of spending than what is approved in the budget? It may possible because of the reason. See how the 50,000 crores has been allocated as per the example that you have taken. Out of the 50,000 crores that is allocated in the budgetary process, 20,000 crores is to be sent to the salaries, 20,000 crores for the arms and acquisition, 10,000 crores for what is called as border road development. This is how it is approved in the original budget. So the defense ministry is also making this expenditure. So as and when they make the expenditure during the financial year, now the defense ministry finds that they need 20,000 crores for the salaries. But however, for the arms and ammunitions, they are not able to spend 20,000 crores because the deal has not went as they expected, because they wanted to acquire it from a foreign country. Probably that the deal was not successful for any reason. For example, that the foreign country was not able to deliver the products on time. So therefore, the money is still with the government of India, that is with the defense ministry. So they were able to spend, let us assume, only 10,000 crores and not 20,000 crores because the arms were not ready, which as promised by a foreign country from where India has to acquire the arms. So therefore, the 20,000 crores was not able to spend. They spent 10,000 crores, but 10,000 crores is still with the government of India, that is with the defense ministry. Suppose let us assume this is by December. By December, this is the status, December 2025. And they are sure that for the next 4 months, they will not be able to spend this money. Before March 2026, the products, the arms will not be ready. So therefore, the acquisition is unlikely to happen. But however, in the border roads development, they have already spent all the 10,000 crores by December 2025. And for the next 3 months, let us assume they may need another 5,000 crores because of the cost escalation. So now try to understand that 50,000 crores was allocated to the defense ministry, 20,000 crore for the salaries, 20,000 crore for arms and acquisitions, which they have spent only 10,000 crores, but still 3 more months are there. They will not be able to spend the rest of the 10,000 crores. And by December 2025, the 10,000 crores allocated by border road developments is already over. They may need another 5,000 crores for the next 3 months to complete the project. So therefore, you can understand that though there is 10,000 crores in the defense ministry, but this 10,000 crore was not allocated for the border road development. It was allocated only for arms and acquisition. And it is important that the government spends the money as it is approved in the budget. So they cannot spend it otherwise. Because the way it is approved in the budget is only 20,000 crores allocated for what is called as the arms and acquisition, and only 10,000 crores was allocated by the border road development. So they cannot do in excess of what has been approved. But however, it can be done with approval of what is called as a parliament. So what normally happens is, the defense ministry will make an internal transfer from one head to another head because they have 10,000 crores. So therefore, they can transfer 5,000 crores there, and then they will start making the expenditure. After transferring 5,000 crores internally from one head to another head, that is from arms and acquisition to the border roads development. But however, this is not the way the parliament has approved it. So therefore, the defense ministry has to take the approval of the parliament. So the defense minister will send a note to the finance minister regarding this. And then the finance minister will introduce what is called as an excess grant. which will be placed in the parliament, and then the parliament will approve this. So this is basically what is called as an excess grant. So excess grant is something where there is an additional expenditure, or I would say the expenditure that has been incurred is more than what has been approved in the budgetary process. But however, there is no actual increase in the expenditure, because it is only transfer of the money from one head to another head. So that is basically what is called as excess grant. Money spent on any service during the financial year in excess of the amount granted, but the net increase in the expenditure to the government of India is not there. It is only that the money is moved from one head to another head in excess of what has been approved by the budget. So this is basically what is called as excess grant. So what is supplementary grant? Supplementary grant results in what is called as an additional expenditure, but whereas a supplementary grant is granted only for not a new service, for a service which is already approved in the budget. And what is an additional grant? This also results in additional expenditure, but the amount is granted for a service which is not part of the original budget. And then you have what is called as an excess grant. An excess grant, the money is not for a new service, for a service which is already there in the budget, but the money is transferred from one head to another head, and therefore permission has to be taken from the parliament in the form of what is called as an excess grant. So these are all the differences that you should understand between what is a supplementary grant, additional grant, and what is called as excess grant. But our understanding will not be complete unless and until we complete the other concepts also, what is called as vote on account, vote of credit, and what is called as an exceptional grant. Okay, let me just complete the exceptional grant, and then I'll move on to what is called as vote on account and vote of credit. And anyways, vote on account we have already seen it. Anyways, I'll explain it in today's class, and before that I'll explain what is called as an exceptional grant. So what is an exceptional grant? So all these things are dealt under Article 116 of the Constitution, whereas the supplementary grant, the additional grant, and the excess grant are dealt under Article 115 of the Constitution. You don't have to remember the articles, but remember the concepts. That is more than sufficient. What is an exceptional grant? As the name suggests, an exceptional grant is something that the money is spent on an exceptional service. An exceptional service means that never ever in the history, or there was no precedent for the government to make such a grant in the first place. Suppose let us assume tomorrow the Indian army captures an alien species and they wanted to build let us assume a laboratory or a research center, a very high profile research center to study this alien species. And for that they are asking for some, let us assume some 20,000 crores to construct a very important laboratory which they think is very important for the national security. But however, never ever in the history, in the precedent, in the budgetary process, we have a history of making such a grant for a specific purpose. So when such a new demand arises, which is exceptional in character, where never ever there was no precedent to allocate such a money in the budgetary process, then such a money can be made available to the concerned ministry or the concerned department in the form of what is called as an exceptional grant. For this also, an exceptional grant is introduced in the parliament, and then it is voted in the Lok Sabha, and then a appropriation bill is passed to take out that particular money and give it to the concerned ministry or department. So this is basically what is an exceptional grant. So exceptional grant means it's a demand for an exceptional service where there is no precedent. So that's basically what is called as an exceptional grant. So I'm sure that your understanding of what is a supplementary grant, what is an additional grant, what is an excess grant, and what is an exceptional grant is clear to all of you. So now we are moving to another concept, what is called as vote on account. I have already said what is vote on account. Vote on account is a very, very important tool in the hands of the parliament, that it allows the parliament to take out money in advance. That is basically what is called as vote on account. I am repeating it again. So normally the budget has to be enacted before the 31st of March. That is when the financial year of a financial year comes to an end. So it has to be passed before 31st of March, because by 1st April the new financial year will start. And when the new financial year starts, then the government has to take out money from the consolidated fund to meet the expenditure. Because whatever is approved in the previous budget, it is only from 1st April of the previous year till the 31st March of this year. And hence it is important the budget is enacted before this. But for some reason, if the government is not able to get the budget enacted, in that particular case, then the government will not have any way to take out the money and to continue the expenditure. And if they are not having the money to continue the expenditure, the entire administration will come to a standstill. In order to avoid that, there is a power or there's a tool in the hands of the parliament which is basically what is called as vote on account. This vote on account, which is a power which is vested in the hands of the parliament, empowers the parliament to authorize the government to take out money in advance even before the appropriation bill is passed. Remember, as per the constitution, not even a single penny can be taken out of the Consolidated Fund of India pending what is called as an appropriation bill. So, in the budgetary process, at least appropriation bill has to be passed, then only the money can be withdrawn. But however, for some reason, if they are not able to pass appropriation bill, the vote on account power can be used by the parliament to authorize the government to take out money in advance even before passing the appropriation bill. But there are certain conditions that has to be met to use this what is called as vote on account. What is the thing that you'll have to keep in your mind? First of all, in the budgetary process, at least the general discussion stage should be over. And if the general discussion stage is over, how much of money can be taken out in advance pending the appropriation bill? It is a maximum of 2 months of expenditure or 1/6 of the total budgetary expenditure. So, this is what maximum can be taken out. So, this is basically what you'll have to understand. So, this is a exceptional tool in the hands of the parliament to allow the government to take out money in advance. So, this is basically what is called as vote on account. And apart from that, there is also one more thing which is called as vote of credit. Now, what is vote of credit? Again, a very interesting concept. Vote of credit means it's like a blank check that is given to you. Suppose let us assume somebody gives a blank check to you. You will be very happy about it, blank check, provided that the person who is giving the blank check is having sufficient balance in his accounts, otherwise it is of no use. Only the check is going to bounce. Probably you can take some action because now it's a criminal offense probably, but otherwise no use. But however, if somebody is giving a blank check with sufficient amount in their balance, then it is good that you can fill it and probably we can use it. So, similarly, let us assume that the government of India is giving a blank check to any specific ministry or department. So, normally what happens in the budgetary processes? Normally in the budgetary process, only a particular amount is given to a ministry or a department and they will ask what money or how much they want. Say for example, in the previous slide, when I was discussing, I have taken the example of defense ministry asking for 50,000 crores. So, when they ask for 50,000 crores, 50,000 crores will be approved. So, therefore, the defense ministry can use 50,000 crores. Now, instead of 50,000 crores, suppose let us assume the defense ministry says that I do not know what will be the expenditure for a given financial year. So, therefore, I need a blank check. That means I should be authorized to take out as much money as I want as and when it is required. That is what the demand that is made by the defense ministry, let us assume. Is the defense ministry, is it an appropriate demand to be made by the defense ministry? Yes, under certain circumstances, the demand may be appropriate. Say for example, unfortunately, the government of India or our country is at war with some other country. When the war is happening, so normally the defense ministry will not be in a position to ascertain as to what shall be the magnitude of war, what shall be the expenditure that they incur in a given year when the war is there. So, otherwise during a normal year, they know what kind of expenditure that they will have to incur. So, normal year means that they know basic expenditure and certain other initiatives that you are going to take. But during the war, they are not sure how long the war is likely to continue. They are not sure what kind of expenditures they may have to incur. So, war means this is a time that the defense ministry is normally not in a position to ascertain the expenditure. And because they are not normally in a position to ascertain the expenditure, what they will ask from the budgetary process, what they will ask from the budget is that they wanted a blank check because they are not sure the magnitude of expenditure and the nature of expenditure. So, under such a circumstances, if the requirement is reasonable, in the budgetary process, they can issue what is called as a blank check, or they can provide what is called as a blank check to any deserving ministry. So, this is basically what is called as vote of credit. So, this is similar to that of a blank check issued by the parliament to the concerned ministry or department, when the concerned ministry or department is normally not in a position to ascertain what is called as the expenditure that they may have to incur in a given financial year. So, this is vote of credit, and try to understand how the vote of credit is different from what is called as vote on account. So, by this time you should be clear about all the concepts that I have discussed. So, what are the concepts I have discussed? What is supplementary grant? What is additional grant? What is excess grant? What is exceptional grant? What is vote on account? And what is vote of credit? So, all those 6 points has to be very, very clear in your mind. But our understanding of the budget will not be complete unless until we understand the different types of different types of funds that is given in the constitution. The constitution talks about 3 different types of funds at the union level. A similar type of funds is also established at the state level. So we are going to understand all those funds. So what are the funds that you are going to understand? One is the Consolidated Fund of India, CFI, and other is the Contingency Fund of India. So this is also the CFI, but let me write it as Contingency Fund of India. And then there is a third type of fund which is called as the Public Accounts of India. So these are all the funds that is mentioned in the constitution. So let us try to understand up to what these funds are and how they are different from one another. What is the way by which the funds can be taken out of, the money can be taken out of these funds. So let us try to understand all those things one by one. So the first thing that we have to understand is what is called as a Consolidated Fund of India. So which is the article that provides for Consolidated Fund of India is Article 266 of the Constitution. So as it is mentioned in the board, it is Article 266 which allows the union to have what is called as a consolidated fund. And in fact, Article 266 of the Constitution allows each and every state to have their own consolidated fund of the states as well. So as per Article 266, there is a consolidated fund for India, and every state government can also have the consolidated fund for their respective states. And this fund is established by the Constitution itself. So it's a constitutional fund. Now coming to the question of what this fund is, this is like a primary account of the government, let us assume. For example, all of us might have a bank account, and why do we have a bank account is where we can save our money, is where we can take out money as and when there is an expenditure. For all these purposes, we are having a fund. So similarly, the government of India has a lot of expenditure. The government of India has a lot of income also in the form of revenues, be it tax revenue or non-tax revenue. So therefore, all these money shall be credited into one account. And basically, let us assume that account is nothing but the public accounts of India. And who maintains this account for the government of India? It is maintained by the Reserve Bank of India. So it is RBI which maintains this, the public accounts, this Consolidated Fund of India. So now we have understood what is this particular fund. It is where the government money is credited, and it is where whenever there is an expenditure, the money is taken out. Who manages? The RBI manages. But what are the funds that is part of the public accounts of India? All those money that belongs to the government. Say for example, all the revenue that they raise in the form of tax resources, all the revenues that they raise in the form of non-tax resources, all these money will be credited into what is called as public accounts India. Sorry, all these money will be credited into what is called as the Consolidated Fund of India. So I'm just making a correction. All these money will be credited into what is called as the Consolidated Fund of India. So what kind of money will be credited? Say for example, the taxes raised in the form of what is called as direct taxes, that is income tax, corporate tax, indirect taxes. So all those things will be credited. Cess, surcharge, all these things will be credited. Apart from that, the government borrows money from the public, they get profits from the PSUs. So all those things will also be crediting into what is called as a Consolidated Fund of India. So all these will be credited into the Consolidated Fund of India is the revenue part, and any expenditure that the government makes, that also is taken out of what is called as a Consolidated Fund of India. So for example, for the budgetary process, there are a lot of grants from where all these grants are taken out. It is all taken out from the Consolidated Fund of India. But however, one key principle that you'll have to keep in your mind is not even a single penny can be taken out of the Consolidated Fund of India unless and until an approval is given by the Parliament in the form of an appropriation bill. So for every rupee that you take, you need to have an approval in the form of an appropriation bill. It doesn't mean that for every rupee an appropriation bill has to be passed. That means even if you have to take out, let us assume 50,000 crores or 100,000 crores or 1,00,000 crores, whatever it is, for all those things, one single appropriation bill can be passed at a time. But after that is over, if you want to introduce a supplementary grant, and for that you will have to again introduce and pass an appropriation bill. So whenever you want to take out money, and if it is not approved in the form of an appropriation bill, a new appropriation bill has to be passed. So to take out money from the Consolidated Fund of India, it can happen only by way of what is called as an appropriation bill. Without the appropriation bill, the money cannot be taken out. So similarly, every state government can also have what is called as the Consolidated Fund of the respective states. And to take out money from the Consolidated Fund of the states, it requires the approval of the concerned state legislature in the form of an appropriation bill. So the same process will appear there also. So which article provides for the Consolidated Fund of India? Article 266. But the Article 266 of the Constitution not only provides for the Consolidated Fund of India, it also provides for what is called as a Public Accounts of India. So therefore, we'll have to understand as to what is this Public Accounts of India. In fact, Article 266 Class 1 provides for Consolidated Fund of India and the Consolidated Fund for each and every state. Article 266 Class 2 provides for what is called as the Public Accounts of India and the Public Accounts for each and every state. So therefore, what is this Public Accounts of India? Public Accounts of India is also like a fund. It is like an account, let us assume. But however, who will manage this particular account? Again, the Government of India will manage this particular account. But what type of money will be crediting into the Public Accounts of India? These are not funds which is belonging to the government. These are all funds which belong to the public. Say for example, some of us may put some savings in the post office. And whatever savings that you put in the post office will go to this Public Accounts of India. Some of us might save our pensions. The government employees might save pensions. Save the funds for the pensions, because now it is taken from the salary, but it is stored somewhere. So later the government can provide what is called as pensions. Now where does this money will go? This money will get credited into what is called as the Public Accounts of India. So therefore, try to understand the Public Accounts of India is something, it is a account which is managed by the government, but the fund that is credited into the Public Accounts of India does not belong to the government. It belongs to the general public. But the government acts as a custodian of these. It acts as a trustee. It maintains, it manages these funds. So as and when the individuals whose money is getting credited into the Public Accounts of India, as and when they need it, they can take it out as per the rules. They can take it out. The government is merely a custodian. Now what is very important is that to take out money from the Public Accounts of India, there is no need for any appropriation bill. There is no need for any approval of the Parliament in the form of an appropriation bill. It can be done merely by an executive order. Suppose if my savings account, my post office savings is getting credited, so as and when I want, I will write a letter to the concerned authority, and the authority may authorize for me to withdraw the money. So it can be done only by way of an executive action. There is no need for the parliamentary approval. Article 266 Class 2 not only provides for the Public Accounts of India, it also provides for public accounts for each and every state. So similarly, there the state government employees, their pension funds and any saving schemes by the state government, all those things will credit into the public accounts of the respective state. There also there is no need for approval of the concerned state legislature to take out money from the Public Accounts of India. So it has to be very clear from which fund to take out money. You need to have the approval of the Parliament. It is only to take out money from what is called as the Consolidated Fund of India. No approval is required when it comes to Public Accounts of India. But apart from these two funds, the Constitution also provides for one more fund, which is called as the Contingency Fund of India, which is provided by Article 267 of the Constitution. But the Contingency Fund of India, what it is something that you have to understand. But before we understand that, remember, while Article 266 of the Constitution allows for establishment of what is called as the Consolidated Fund of India and the Public Accounts of India, which means they are directly established by the Constitution, whereas the Contingency Fund of India is not directly established by the Constitution. The Contingency Fund of India under Article 267, if you read it, it says the Parliament may by a law establish what is called as a Contingency Fund of India for the, in case of India, and the contingency fund for each and every states. Under Article 267, they can make a law. That is, under Article 267, the Parliament is empowered to make a law, and by that law they can establish what is called as a Contingency Fund of India, and the state legislatures are empowered to make a law, and thereby they can establish what is called as a Contingency Fund of every states. Therefore, the Consolidated Fund of India and the Public Accounts of India have a constitutional recognition, whereas the Contingency Fund of India is more or less a statutory fund that is established by way of a law. For example, in case of the Parliament, in case of the Contingency Fund of India, the Parliament has already enacted what is called as a Contingency Fund of India Act 1951, and it is based on the Contingency Fund of India Act 1951 the Contingency Fund of India is established. So therefore, it is more statutory in nature. Now coming to the question of what type of fund is there in the Contingency Fund of India? In the Contingency Fund of India, it is more or less an emergency fund or an impressed funds. So this is basically what is called as the Contingency Fund of India. Emergency fund means that immediately the government needs some money. Suddenly the government is in need of some money. To meet out that emergency expenditure, we have what is called as a contingency fund of India. For example, let us assume before the UPI payments and the online payment modes that we have today, let us assume 10-15 years back, if you have to make an expenditure, you cannot always go to the bank or you cannot always go to the search of ATM to take the cash. So what we will do is we will anyways have some cash in the hand, and whenever there is an immediate expenditure, we will use that particular cash. So similarly, let us assume that the government needs an immediate expenditure and which is not approved in the budget, you will have to meet an immediate expenditure. So because there's a contingency fund, you can immediately take out money and spend that particular expenditure or make that particular expenditure. Because to take out money from the contingency fund of India, there is no need for approval of the parliament. The contingency fund of India is at the disposal of the President of India. The President can authorize. It's an executive action. So therefore it becomes much easier. The President can authorize, and by which we can take out what is called as the money out of the contingency fund of India. But however, the most important thing is, again I am repeating it, there is no need for approval of parliament to take out money from what is called as a contingency fund. But however, what is the source of the contingency fund of India? Once the money is placed inside the contingency fund, then you can take out money without the approval of the parliament. But however, from where the money comes into the contingency fund of India, the money comes into the contingency fund of India from the Consolidated Fund of India. During the budgetary process, a certain amount of money is also transferred from the consolidated fund to the contingency fund, and to that extent an appropriation bill is passed along with the budget. For the entire budget, there is one appropriation bill. That appropriation bill also authorizes transferring some amount of money from the Consolidated Fund of India to the contingency fund. So for example, during the budgetary process of all the expenditure, there is also one expenditure which is saying transfer of money from consolidated fund to contingency fund, which is 10,000 crores. So if 10,000 crores are transferred from the consolidated fund to contingency fund, which is happening by way of an appropriation bill that is passed at the time of budget, and then once the money comes into the contingency fund, which is part, now this 10,000 crores is there in the contingency fund, and to take out money from the contingency fund, it does not require any approval of the parliament. So it is at the disposal of the President of India. The President may further delegate it. So today the President has delegated this power to the Secretary, Ministry of Finance. So the expenditure from the contingency fund of India can be made easily because it is again at the disposal of the executives. So this is basically what you'll have to understand with regard to what is called as contingency fund. And under Article 267, the state legislature is also given power to make a law and thereby establish the contingency fund for each and every state. So try to have a clear understanding of what is the Consolidated Fund of India, what is Contingency Fund of India, and what is Public Accounts of India. Well, the consolidated fund is the fund where all the government money is credited and every expenditure is taken out from this particular fund. Not even a single penny can be taken out of the Consolidated Fund of India without the approval of the parliament. And the Contingency Fund of India is again the most important fund of the government. What is Public Accounts of India? These are all fund which does not have the government money but the money of the public. So therefore, the money can be taken out only by an executive action. There is no need for approval of the parliament. And then the last thing is a Contingency Fund of India. The money to the Contingency Fund of India comes from the consolidated fund, but once it comes into the Contingency Fund, there is no need for approval of the parliament. It can be done by an executive action by the President or some other authority as nominated by the President of India. So this is basically what you'll have to understand with regard to what is called as the Consolidated Fund, the Contingency Fund, and the Public Accounts of India, along with the other type of grants that I have discussed. So this is a very, very important topic. Now let us try to test your understanding and then we'll end the discussion. So look into the question. Consider the following: Consolidated Fund of India, Contingency Fund of India, Public Accounts of India. Which of the above funds does not require parliamentary approval to take out money out of it? So among the three, which requires parliamentary approval, which does not require parliamentary approval to take out money from such a fund? I am sure that it's a very simple question if you have listened to my particular lecture. So please put the answers in the comment box. So do put and participate in these discussions, which is going to extremely motivate me in doing the further videos. If you have any queries, kindly reach out to me through my Instagram account or Telegram account, and do practice a lot of questions. Practice is the only way which will help you to clear the examination. Practice plus revision plus conceptual clarity. So these are the three important pillars. So any doubts, you can reach out to me. Think me as your friend or maybe as a mentor, whatever be it. But do not hesitate to reach out to me. So if you like this video, please share it with your friends and family members. This lecture is going to be extremely useful. Not only this particular lecture, this entire series on Indian polity is going to be extremely useful to the students preparing for various competitive examination. Thank you very much for watching this particular lecture. All the best.